Hello, and thank you for listening to Renewables, a podcast by BioStar, which aims to explore the current and future energy landscape in America.
Hello, and welcome back to Renewables. We are really excited about this week's episode with Chuck Hurchalla from the Evolution Energy Partners. Chuck is the CEO of Evolution, based in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Chuck, thank you so much for making some time today, and we're really excited to chat with you about your growing business and all the things that you're doing for your customers. Thank you for being on Renewables.
David, thanks for having me. This is a great opportunity to, connect and get our message out and to, talk about some of the great things we've been able to do lately.
Absolutely, yeah. You have been in the news a lot lately, and so I want to get into your company, and I want our viewers and listeners to really understand what you all do. But first, let's talk about you. Tell our viewers and listeners a little bit about your background. Where'd you go to school, and when and why did you get into the energy business? And then we'll jump into kind of how you got to where you are today and what Evolution does.
Sure. My graduate degree is from Boston College in economics, and I have an MBA in finance from Villanova University. Two competing schools, but they both served me well. And in terms of how did I get in the energy business, sadly, I'm a one-trick pony. I've been in the energy business my whole career. My family had an energy marketing company, primarily on the petroleum side, operated up and down the East Coast, supplying gasoline, diesel fuel, heating oil to end-use customers like SEPTA, Amtrak, Conrail, FedEx, UPS, large customers. And when I got into the business, I got us into natural gas, electricity, propane, and some of the more unique, newer deregulating commodities. And we peaked at, on the petroleum side, we probably peaked at about 500 million gallons a year in annual sales. And
wow.
Then we ended up selling to Delmarva Power in the late 90s, kind of as deregulation was really hitting. We saw an opportunity for my father to be able to basically monetize and exit, and he jumped at the chance. Kind of changed my long-term game plan because that was my plan to stay in it. But no, it worked out well. We sold to Delmarva Power. They had some difficulties operating in the deregulated world. They flipped my piece of the business, the natural gas and electric, to UGI Corporation, who is a Fortune 500 energy company based out of King of Prussia, Pennsylvania, locally here, that owns a few natural gas utilities, an electric utility, unregulated assets, and then international assets primarily on the propane and natural gas side. So I was up there for 15 years as VP of National Accounts. That's where we started this operation, actually, as a division of UGI, probably about 10 years ago. And then about 6 years ago, I ended up buying the operation away from the company.
Got it. Very interesting. So this is perfect for this conversation because obviously we're a renewable energy company. One of the themes of the podcast is sort of renewing to make sure your company's staying relevant. And so you kind of were doing that a long time ago with what was cutting edge back then with gas and bringing new markets to your family's business. And so a little bit later, I obviously want to get into, as you might guess, renewables and how important you think that is as you kind of look into the future for your company and start to add different services to your business. So that is all very interesting. And so I have to go way back to the college conversation for a second. Which basketball team do you cheer for?
BC's basketball team has not been extremely strong. So I definitely am a Villanova basketball fan, but I wrestled at Boston College, so I got to know some of the basketball players up there during that time. But it was it was a great period of my life. I really enjoyed it. But Villanova basketball is legendary, so I have to cheer.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm a born and raised in Kansas here, and college basketball is very important to us as well. So, had to ask. Had to ask. Yeah, absolutely. So what is Evolution Energy Partners? What tell us about the company and your value proposition to your customers. What types of customers do you have, and what are some of the things, sort of your main business lines? And then I want to get to some of the new things that you're doing because you're growing and you're adding services all the time. So tell us about Evolution and sort of the suite of services you provide for your customers.
Well, if you kind of go back to how it started, we really started on the energy procurement side under primarily a broker model, but also that's how the market is primarily driven. But we can also be on retainer with a client, um, helping them from procurement, contract negotiation, hedging strategy, all the things on commodity risk management. Basically, and that's how we started when we were part of UGI. As we broke out of UGI, I realized that any savings that you're able to offer a client is really temporary because we're talking about an actively traded commodity. A lot of people in our industry really try to sell based on savings, but if you represent it correctly, it's really risk management.
Yeah,
Um, and savings I knew would come from reducing consumption. That's permanent reduction. That's permanent savings.
sure.
So I knew that it was important that we immediately started the engineering side of our operation. So the engineering side of our operation married with our commodity risk management side, it really presents synergies um, working together um, to the long-term benefit of the client. And I think that made us, pretty unique in the marketplace. And I think the name of our company, Evolution, really speaks to what I wanted to see our company continue to do, but also, address what's going on in the energy business and making sure that we're always on the cutting edge and make sure we're not falling behind what the market needs.
Sure. Yeah, we like to say the leading edge, not the bleeding edge. So, and the engineering side of your company is really impressive. For our viewers and listeners, we have we're very fortunate to be working on several projects with Evolution right now. And you all do sort of what our energy services business does from the engineering side of things, in that you'll go into a building and top to bottom evaluate it, tell your customer how much they can expect to spend and how much they can expect to save on various energy conservation measures and upgrades. The difference for you, and it's a good differentiator, is that you have this huge book of customers that you're helping on the procurement side of things. So you sort of have the customers built in there. But I've seen firsthand your engineering team does a fantastic job, and I think it makes sense that you're able to. You have a lot of customers. It sounds like that really are long-term customers, and I think that's got to be a testament to you're able to provide so many different things for them and be a resource in so many different ways. So I've really enjoyed getting to know the engineering side of your business, and you have a rock solid team. Tell us a little bit about your growth, because it seems like you're bringing more people on the team, and you're starting to kind of dabble in some different things and try to bring different things to your customers. One of them being renewable energy, and we're very fortunate again to have this solar partnership with us. So talk to us about your growth and where you see kind of the company growing and evolving in the next 5 to 10 years.
We've been very lucky. We have enjoyed some consistent, steady growth in the 5 to 6 years we've been away from UGI. We've been lucky to find some great employees. With difficulties in the employee hiring. There's been hurdles, but right now I love the team we have, and that growth is really due to the quality of the team that we've been able to build right now. But we have been acknowledged, in the press, with the growth we've experienced, in This year was the second year in a row that we were ranked as one of the fastest growing companies in Philadelphia in the Soaring 76. And then this year we also were included, I think, Philly 100, again, another ranking. And then Inc. 5000, we made that list this year. But honestly,
Wow.
the award that I love the most is where we were ranked in the small category in Philadelphia Business Journal as the second best place to work. So that's our employees saying that this is a good place to be. And I
Yeah.
think from my standpoint, establishing a culture that where people like each other, like what they're doing, find it fulfilling, is huge.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's really great, and that's really impressive, and I love that award too because I agree that culture is so key to when you're team building and building out good teams. You all have some really interesting teams and some really interesting customers. Um, can you brag a little bit on kind of like what are some of the most exciting projects or customers that you have coming into the business? And then I want to get into, the renewables side of things because you obviously are an expert in energy procurement and have a really good understanding of, the deregulated markets. I'm curious your take on the importance of renewables now. The sort of ESG wave that I think we all agree that we're feeling a little bit. Curious from your perspective, how important is this to your customers now, and how important do you think it is going forward?
Oh, I think it's critical. Now it's going to, the demand for ESG is going to grow exponentially over the next several years and decades. I think the engineering side plays into that, from the energy efficiency, carbon reduction, all of those types of things, emission reductions. So that was always our starting point from a sustainability platform. But we definitely realize, and we've been discussing other solutions, obviously solar, whether it be under, just a straight up installation under PPA, VPPAs. We've been working on some unique large deals in conjunction with some other partners that I have on some very, very large VPPAs. And I think that ESG movement has to continue to evolve and grow from not just talking about consumption. You're going to have clients, especially the larger clients, that are under more of the public microscope, um, talk talk about and find ways that they're going to have to address behavior internally of their companies, as well as they're really going upstream to their vendors and saying, what are you doing from a sustainability standpoint? So because of that type of nature of the relationships between companies, the need for our services is going to continue to grow. We have an online utility bill management platform that really helps people tie into Energy Star and really help with different certifications and ratings so that their properties and their operations can fit in with the different municipal rules that are now required around the country, but also to self-manage and to benchmark their own properties against each other to identify anomalies. So
Sure.
our model is really to be, an outside resource for all clients, to help them look at their energy platform and their energy consumption, to find ways to have a positive impact on the environment, but also to improve themselves financially. It's nice to
Sure.
address both sides of green, the green from an environmental standpoint, but the green from the monetary standpoint too.
Right, absolutely. They're both important, and the more that we can make it a sound financial decision, the faster we'll be able to accelerate the growth of renewables and energy efficiency. That's really interesting. The utility bill management platform. Oh, real quick, I want to back up. I try to be conscious of this because a lot of our viewers, I think, are kind of at a higher level, 20, 30,000 stand foot view. Point of view. So I think a lot of, I'm going to let Spencer edit that. I think a lot of our listeners and viewers kind of live at 30,000 feet. So ESG, environmental social governance, we talk about that. It's a really common theme on the show. I would point our listeners to our episode with Jeff Fromm about the purpose advantage and how brands are increasingly focused on how to put purpose into their brand and be able to, affect that discerning consumer by highlighting the sustainability of their company or the purpose of their company. So this is something we talk about all the time, and you're really touching on some great points here. I want to dive into that utility bill management service just for a minute. That's really interesting because you're seeing a lot of municipalities, Kansas City being one of them, around the country, passing laws saying that, as an owner of a commercial building, you need to report. You mentioned Energy Star has a score. There are some other metrics out there as well. Is that something that you provide for all of your customers? Like any procurement customer that you have, you provide that utility bill management platform?
Yes, absolutely. If they're using our services, we allow our clients to take advantage of that platform. And it's like we talked about. We do so much in commercial real estate. This service, really allows them to understand the impact of what we're doing when we're taking actions and making recommendations. You know, the results can be shown and quantified. You know, through the M&V platform that's tied to this bill management system.
Wow, that's really neat. It's a turnkey solution. So you bring a lot more to your customers kind of right off the bat than a lot of your competition does. And that's hugely important because I just want to stress in Kansas City right now, if you own a portfolio of, 20 or 30 buildings or three, you, as of a couple of years ago, have to start benchmarking all of your utility consumption, and you have to report basically through an online portal. And so that can be, a pretty tedious task. I mean, that's something that you have to do now that you didn't have to do a couple of years ago. So that's pretty neat. And, Kansas and Missouri, obviously, we're not deregulated markets, so we don't have a lot of companies like yours in here serving us. But that in particular seems like, a business platform that you could spread even beyond the deregulated markets. Is that most of your work, Chuck? Is it pretty focused in the deregulated markets? Is that where kind of 99% of your customers live? Or tell our viewers, where you have customers, what parts of the country, and how active your business is in those various regions.
We operate nationwide. We actually have also done, on a procurement standpoint, we actually did a facilitated procurement event in Germany this year. So
Right.
we do have some international capabilities through some partners in certain countries. But on the procurement, obviously, we are limited to only the deregulated states. But it could be deregulated for electric, could be deregulated for natural gas, both or individually. And that really covers a big chunk of the country. The engineering, our engineering, we're doing engineering projects, energy efficiency projects across the country. It has no tie or rhyme or reason related to the deregulation. And the nice part is this year, because of the pandemic and the impact it's had on our economy and capital constraints of different clients around the country, the engineering has really taken off like you can't believe, because we have some very unique financing options that allow clients to do these energy efficiency projects and receive the financial benefits through cash flow improvement without putting out any capital whatsoever. So capital preservation, yet OpEx reduction tied into one solution has been extremely popular over the past 9 months.
So don't get too down in the weeds, but like, what does an actual project look like? And then let's talk a little bit about, if you don't mind, we could talk about some of the projects we're kind of looking at from a solar standpoint. But when you say your engineering business, tell our viewers what your folks are doing and what a typical project is sort of consists of.
Sure. Since we started the company, I really believe that we needed to put ourselves at risk and demonstrate our expertise before we have a client engage with us. There's a lot of consultants and brokers out there that have people sign engagement letters and such. Um, Whether it's on the procurement or on the engineering side, we do all of our analysis and all of our engineering up front at no risk to the client. And that product that we develop through that initial process is hopefully what earns us the business on a going forward basis. So on engineering, at no cost to the client, we'll come in and do a complete, basically the equivalent of an ASHRAE level 2 energy audit of a facility, looking at all energy consuming loads from mechanical, HVAC, lighting, water, you name it. And it could be, depending on the size of the property, it could be one day up to several days. And we're investing all that time and effort. Some people charge as much as $20,000 for these types of audits, and we do it at no cost up front. But then we come back with what we find and what our recommendations are. While we're doing that audit, we're listening to the operational people that are walking us around. So we not only are we using our own eyes and ears to see and identify what we see as opportunities, we're also asking them, what are the headaches that you have to deal with operationally and economically? So after we come out of the audit, we come back with these recommendations. And our recommendations, if it's just based on what we find, not based on the headache issue, we typically are recommending solutions that have anywhere 4-year payback or less. Obviously, if they have a headache that might have a longer term payback, but they want it addressed, we'll obviously incorporate that. But when we show them our recommendations with the various ECM's energy conservation measures that we're recommending, we'll show them the gross capital cost of the project. We'll show them all the free money that's available through state and utility and possibly independent grant and rebate programs. Then we'll show them the net cost of the project, and then we'll show you the simple payback on that, the ROI. 2.5 years, 3 years, 1.8 years, depending on the cost and the savings that it's going to generate.
And then you wrap capital around all that if they need financing or if they want to do it sort of paid from savings.
Absolutely. So then we show them the cash flow analysis if they want to use one of our various financing options. So it might cost, in a simple way, it might cost $7,000 a month on a 5-year equipment lease or something like that, but it's saving $10,000 a month. So it's brand new cash flow of 36 grand a year, along those lines. So they have all the tools to say go or no go. And if it's a go, self-finance or third party.
Yeah, that's great. And we've been very fortunate and excited that you've been offering solar to your customers more and more. It doesn't work in every state, but certainly a lot of the states that your team's working in and a lot of the customers that you're representing have such big loads and such, big electricity users that solar becomes a really interesting option. And so we're excited about a couple of opportunities in New Jersey, a couple of opportunities in PA to, bring clean energy to your customers and maximize that savings. Before we sign off, Chuck, I want to make sure you let our listeners and followers know how to follow your company, whether it be on social or how to find you online. And then we'll sign off. And I really can't thank you enough for coming on the show. It's been a great conversation, and you're running a fantastic business out there, and one that we're very, very fortunate and excited to be partnered with. So how do we find Evolution online?
You can find us at www.evolutionep.com, and you'll find all the tools and all the resources there to see the various services that we offer. Hopefully, and if there are questions that they have, they'll obviously be all of our contact information will be on there as well.
Awesome.
David,
Well,
thank
I
you very
can't-
much for having me.
Yeah, it's been great. And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Renewables with Chuck Hurchalla, the CEO of Evolution Energy Partners in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Don't forget to follow the podcast and wherever you listen to your podcasts, hit the follow button, subscribe to Renewables, and thank you for listening. Chuck, thank you, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks, David. Take care.